The protagonist is a gaming streamer known as Classic Nerd, who plays the hardest classic games. He has cleared the final stage of a game called Tower Defense and Dungeon Attack RPG, Empire Defense, which had a notorious difficulty level. He is the first person in the world to beat the Iron Manhwa difficulty of the game after 10 years of its release. The protagonist has been transported to a fortress under attack by a monster army known as the Black Spider Army. A man named Lucas, who is a personal bodyguard and resembles a character from a video game called Empire Defense, is trying to protect the protagonist and reminds them of the situation they are in. The sun is setting and the fortress is on the verge of collapse. The protagonist wakes up inside the world of the game, Empire Defense, which they had just cleared with the highest difficulty. They are now the main character, Lucas, and the representatives of the monster species, the Black Spider Army. They encounter the wounded soldiers who ran away as soon as they entered the building and learn that they have a reputation as a ruthless murderer. The protagonist denies the accusations and instead orders the wounded soldiers to return and rest while they have a conversation with Lucas. The protagonist has entered a game world as a side character named Ash von Hyder, Everblack, the third prince of the Empire. Ash is depicted as a cruel and ferocious person who lived a prodigal life and caused many disputes. He was appointed as the lord and commander of the fortress city of Crossroad, a position that was actually an exile and demotion in disguise. The objective of the game is to stop the monsters that rose from the giant lake in the south and attack the city. On the first day of his tenure, Ash led most of the Imperial troops and mercenaries to march south, but they were surrounded by an army of black spiders and suffered a bloody battle, resulting in Ash's death. The protagonist has a party of 5 members including Lucas and Ash who were in the tutorial level. However, Ash was killed by the Black Spider Army. The protagonist is trying to find a way to escape the game world and survive. He realizes that the developers added a joke to the tutorial party members, and if he can use it to his advantage, there might be a chance of survival. He orders Lucas to gather the rest of the tutorial party members and he has come up with a strategy to escape the game world. The protagonist, Ash, is in a war situation and has taken command of a group of soldiers. One of the knights, Ken, insults the royal family and the commander-in-chief, causing Ash to command Ken's execution. However, Ash has no intention of actually killing Ken as they need every soldier they have. Instead, Ash uses fear and threatens to shame Ken and his family if he protests against Ash's command. Ken eventually apologizes and kneels before Ash, promising obedience. Ash lets the matter go this time, but reminds everyone that it is better to survive together rather than dying together. The protagonist, who has taken on the identity of Ash, is the prince of the Empire and is in a situation where he must win the trust of his men in order to survive against the Black Spider Army. He assigns Lily, a fire The prince is assigning the party members roles for an upcoming battle. He assigns Lily, a fire-type magician, as the shield or main tank, Ken as a secret infiltrator to derange the enemy, Damien as a sniper, to take out the enemy's most important target, and Lucas as the commander of the rest of the soldiers. Lily is a fire magician with a fire skin trait that allows her to dodge physical attacks by turning into flames. However, as she is the main DPS in the party, using this trait would consume too much mana. Ken is a shield knight with a survival method of a petty thief trait that allows him to decrease his presence and avoid attention, but this is not ideal for a shield knight who needs to attract enemy attention. Damien is a healing priest with the 1,000-mile eyes trait that allows him to see and hit anything he wishes, but this was useless in the original game as healing skills never miss their target. Lily has a phobia of sharp weapons, but acquired the ability of fire skin after being attacked with a sharp weapon as a child. Ken was a thief in his youth and has the ability to hide from others. Damien has excellent eyesight and can remember details vividly. The protagonist uses this knowledge to give each team member a specific mission to carry out. The protagonist, who is a prince, is observing an army of spiders that are besieging their outpost. The prince is standing on the walls of the fortress and takes a dry gulp when he sees the hundreds of monsters slowly moving towards them. A blonde escort knight, Lucas, calls the prince and tries to bring him inside, but the prince wants to stay and monitor the position of the spiders, searching for the queen. Lucas mentions that the prince has changed from a few days ago when he was looking forward to breaking himself, but now he is different. The prince decides to head inside and taps Lucas on the shoulder, telling him to save himself and escape if the operation fails. However, Lucas refuses to abandon the prince. The protagonist and Damien are at a fortress, and they are tasked with finding the boss monster known as the Queen, which is marked as the enemy on the stage list. Amidst the chaos of the ongoing battle between spiders and soldiers, the protagonist searches the map and eventually spots the Queen far away from the main group. He leads Damien to the mana cannon, but Damien is hesitant to pull the trigger as he has never done anything like this before. The protagonist encourages Damien by saying he will take full responsibility for any mistakes that may occur and tells him that he can miss. Damien finally pulls the trigger, and the cannon shoots towards the direction of the Queen. However, the Queen uses her subordinates as a shield and the shot only weakens her. The skirmisher reports that the Queen is still standing strong and the battery is reloading for another shot. At the front line, Lucas is desperately fighting against the monsters along with the other troops, but the number of allies is rapidly decreasing. The protagonist is trying to defeat the Black Spider Queen with a mana cannon. Lily, who is blocking the entrance to the cannon room, warns the protagonist that the spider demolishers will soon break through the walls. The artillerist captain reports that the cannon is at its limit and will explode if it is fired. The protagonist wants to take a chance and fire the cannon anyway, believing that the 1,000-mile eyes will activate as long as Damien fires the shot. The protagonist asks Damien to fire the cannon one last time, but Damien is skeptical about whether anything will change even if the Spider Queen is defeated. Damien is disheartened and has given up, feeling that no matter how hard he tries, the world just keeps taking everything from him. The final shot from the collapsed forward operating base pierces the sky and reaches the Black Spider Queen, despite the impossible odds. The shot lands precisely on the Queen's head, destroying it. The protagonist, Your Highness, has survived a battle against the Black Spider Army and is now being updated by Lily on the aftermath of the battle. Lily reports that only 8 people have survived, including the protagonist. The protagonist is feeling guilty and responsible for the outcome of the battle. Lily comforts the protagonist and tells them that nobody could have known that the Black Spider Army would appear and that their military tactic was not unreasonable. Lily reminds the protagonist that they did their best and that they should not feel guilty about the outcome. The game has an automatic system for distributing stats and you are considering choosing the Bruiser class for your character. The protagonist is faced with a decision on which class to choose for their character in a game. There is a special class called Commander that is unlocked for clearing Hell Iron Man, but there is limited information about this class. The protagonist has a skill called Indomitable Commander, which provides immunity to mental debuffs to all allies within a 10 meters radius. This skill is useful later in the game but